Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders, the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as you can see in the title, why are these topics? I think I put barely talked about, or something along those lines. And there was I was meditating on the second First Corinthians, the 15th chapter, as the Apostle Paul had spoken about. You know, he goes into a lot of different things in this chapter, but I think the highlight that I was really thinking of was I believe around the 45th, verse on down or so. Okay, but basically, I mean, personally, I don't watch like other camps. I don't keep up too much, with like with the kind of videos they're doing and stuff. But from at least speaking from what I've know, or what I know, not speaking about brothers and GMS, or us that teach the same thing, but just generally speaking, outside of that, there's there's obviously, you teach that you're an Israelite. You teach other things around that, speak about judgment and all of these things to come. But we can't forget that it says in Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, that we have to eat the whole roll. And there are certain topics in the scriptures that you have people don't want to bring out these kinds of topics, for many different reasons. For some, they don't want they don't want the heat, okay, of speaking on certain sensitive topics. But then also you have certain other topics that are more on the spiritual side, really heavily faith-based topics. All right, that is something exciting to read about, and it's something that really should be brought out more, because they definitely do not bring this out in the churches, in the so-called Christian world, and all of that. And I'm talking about things like the new bodies. First Corinthians 15 speaks of that. Philippians, the 3rd chapter, speaks of that. I believe First John also speaks about that. And guess what? That's also a part of prophecy. Yeah, the nuclear destruction is coming, but the scriptures talk about the Lord changing our bodies from mortal to immortal. Okay, giving us everlasting life, immortality. These things are also a part of the scriptures. And like I said, not talking about us, because we go into all the different parts of the scriptures. Okay, but these are also things to push out, because a lot of people in the world, I mean, they take the practical parts of the scriptures, but they don't want to deal with the parts that they will call so-called make-believe. Yahweh Shai walking on water. You actually have groups that are saying that didn't actually happen. So I've noticed it's like certain, when it comes to the actual things that it takes heavy faith to believe, the history part, yeah, that's that. I mean, that you can go into secular, you can link it up. But the scriptures that go and deal more with, you actually have to have faith to believe this, okay? Those, it's almost like it's not as spoken about, but it's also just as important. When Yahweh Shai returns, him beaming up the elect, what's that? Second Ezra, the 2nd chapter, which Lord's will we're also gonna get, where Yahweh Shai crowns the elect. That's actually gonna happen. Okay, the different miracles that were performed, the spiritual power. Spiritual power is a very big topic in the scriptures. It's a very, I mean, it's pretty much all throughout. You witness it in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And these are all things that, I mean, we should be excited to get into. Anytime I hear about spiritual power, I get super excited. I'm sure we all do. Okay, the miracles of the Lord. Not just thinking of it in the historical context, but in present tense. Like, it's not something that the Lord did and then that's it, that the time for that is past. No. This is something the Lord does. Divine intervention is not just something the Lord did in the past. It's something that the Lord does for those that put their faith and their trust in him. So I'm going to start off with Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 1. And it says, moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest. Eat this roll, which the roll represents the book, the scriptures, completely. Okay? Eat this roll and go and speak unto the house of Israel. So eating the roll is not, first off, when you go and speak unto the house of Israel, right? What are you going to speak unto them? You're going to speak unto them the words written in the book, right? You don't bite into a book and all of a sudden you can consume the knowledge that's in the book. You're gonna have paper inside of your mouth and you're not gonna be able to swallow it and properly digest it. So you probably gonna spit it back out. That's when it says eat the whole roll. It doesn't mean to literally. How the hell are you even gonna bite into a Bible? You know, what it means is eating it with your mind. Okay, digesting it. Meaning you read it, you listen to it, you understand it, okay? It marinates inside of your mind, it breaks down, it sets in, you understand it fully, then you go and teach it. It says, so I opened my mouth. So this verse here, these first few verses here, is not literal. Okay, the literal action is the understanding of the scriptures. But the figurative part is when it says eating it. Eating it is not literal. You're not literally eating it with your mouth. You're eating it with your mind. So I opened my mouth and he caused me to eat that roll, which a brother put a precept on here. GMS Truth Be Told 144, 2nd Ezra 8 and 4. So answered I and said, swallow then down, O my soul, understanding and devour wisdom. Exactly. Beautiful precept. So verse 3 says, and he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat. Right? Now, when you hear the word belly, what else should you think of? Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living waters. So the scriptures are likened onto the roll, but it's also likened onto water. Right? Living waters at that. So when you cause your belly to eat, that's really your mind. Okay? That's your mind. Of course, everything is connected to your spirit, but you're putting this information into your mind. And guess what? This same information is going to come out of your mind as living waters. So it says here, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. Honey for sweetness, because when you first hear this word, there are certain things that you hear that it's like a breath of fresh air. You know, a realization. Oh, wow. Damn, I'm an Israelite. Damn, the Most High's name, to the Most High, Yahushua is actually a so-called, black man. He's brown just like me. What? All these were lies. You get that overzealous energy. And it's so sweet. You just want to tell everybody. But then eventually in process of time, it starts to become bitter, because the scriptures tell you, I believe King Solomon said it, much wisdom is much sorrow or much grief, because the more you know, the more you learn, the more grieved you become. It's like Neo in the Matrix. When he first got unplugged versus how he was at the end, he became more serious, right? Scarcely smiling, because he started to understand more and more and more what the situation actually was. And it's the same thing. When you first wake up, you all happy that, yeah, I woke up. But as you stay awake, you start to see all these. That's like when you wake up upon your bed, right? Say you had a really good dream, you slept real well, and you wake up, the sun is out. It's a nice, beautiful morning. The birds are chirping. Right? So you wake up feeling good. Oh, yes, another day, I'm nice and awake. But now that you're awake, you're going to have to deal with all the stuff that comes with the day. Right? You might get up and then, you may be good. You brushing your teeth, you coming back to your room and you stub your toe. Boom. Ah, shit. You're going to deal with all these other things. The point is, when you first wake up, it's a one feeling. But as you stay awake and you start to see more things and you start to understand, damn, I'm really in hell. And you start to understand the extent of the hell that you're in, you start to get more grieved. Okay? So, but as it says here, you got to eat the whole roll. So that involves the grape doctrine, as they call it. Okay, because it's really a part of the doctrine of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, because it's in the scriptures. It involves every part of the scriptures. Things that people get emotional about, things that they don't get emotional about. That's a part of the whole roll, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be written in here. And a part of it is spiritual power. A part of it is getting delivered. A part of it is getting our bodies changed. As supernatural as it sounds, that's written in the scriptures. If you say you believe in the scriptures, that's something that you got to believe in as well. And that's not metaphorical, that's literal. So let's go to that. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And it shows you that the Spirit had to be working with the Apostle Paul heavily, because these were some real heavy revelations. I mean, he was already learned. So that's why when you read certain of the letters he wrote to the churches and some of his writings, it's not as easy to be understood, because not only are you laboring to understand what he means, you're laboring to understand what is he saying based on how he's speaking. Because, there's certain, like today, you have certain people that speak more proper or sophisticated, use more bigger vocabulary, use a different, I don't know, I guess they call it proper etiquette or whatever, if I'm using that correctly. If I'm not, pardon me. But then you had other apostles that, they just spoke regular. See, so it's like when you read the book of Josephus, for example. When you read the book of Josephus, it's not like reading straight English. It's like almost, it's Old English, but it's proper Old English. Meaning that you have Old English, which we read, different scriptures and so on and so forth. Thou shalt, and then you have proper Old English, which is like a sophisticated version of that. I don't know, something like, for example, two men get into a fierce argument. Okay, you'll see it written as something like it was no small argument. That's to emphasize that it was really intense. Okay, but there's different examples, so on and so forth. So when you go into 1 Corinthians 15, and I'm gonna actually start up at verse 39, because the Apostle Paul, and this chapter destroys the concept or the teachings or the thoughts of mermaids or minotaurs and those kinds of creatures. They don't exist. Okay, the Most High did not create a merge of two different types of creatures. Okay, and Paul is going to go into that. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 39. All flesh is not the same flesh. So that's cut number one for the whole common ancestor. The whole common ancestor. There we go. The water. Yep. This is a good example of what I was talking about. That Old English, right? This is Acts 28 and 2. All right. This is GMS. Truth be told. 144. Acts 28 and 2. It says, and the barbarous people shewed us no little kindness, for they kindled a fire and received us every one because of the present rain and because of the cold. Right? So no little kindness, meaning they showed them a great deal of kindness. They were very, very kind to them. But you see the way it's written. So that's a good example, the water. But yeah, the whole common ancestor. Oh, we all come from a common ancestor, and then they'll put up some skeletal structure of this weird ass half fish, half bear, half whale / centipede looking creature and shit. You talking about we all evolved from that? So you had fish. We all came from one ancestor, and then over time we evolved. Wait a minute. Wait, hold the hell up. How? You can't jump from a common ancestor to a fish and also a human at the same time, right? The design of the human body is completely different than that of a fish. All right. When you look at the skeletal structure, the muscular structure, the nervous system, you know, and all the different parts of your body, your digestive system, your reproductive system, your respiratory system, all of these things are different for a human compared to a fish. Completely different design. So at what point did they diverge from the common ancestor? What would have been that middle creature? From the common ancestor into a human, what was the middle creature? Oh, the Neanderthals, brother. You know, they had really big foreheads. You know, it's just some straight up madness, man. But in any case, it cuts that, all right? Because as it says, all flesh is not the same flesh. So we are different. Our bodies are made differently to function differently on different property. You know, when I say property, I'm referring to some are on land, some are in the water. You have amphibians, you have water creatures, you have air creatures. We can't survive underwater. So it says, verse 39, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men. You hear that? One kind of flesh of men. See? So when it comes to human, men is talking about human beings. Now you have different variations, you have different nations, but we're all humans, meaning if all of us gonna have a head, we're gonna have hands, we're gonna have muscles, tissues, tendons, you know, we're gonna have blood flowing through us, we're gonna have a heart, because that is the generic default structure of man and woman, like humans, right? So there's only, when it comes to men, there's not gonna be a man who's a man from the head to the waist and then has a tail, or like a mermaid. That's like a mixture of a fish and a man. And that the scripture, Paul is saying here exclusively that what? There is one kind of flesh of men. So if it's a man, if it's a human being, is a human being. This is this is a good one too. GMS, truth be told, 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. Exactly. Because ultimately, when you get down to it, if you ask somebody who comes up to you and tells you, oh, the earth is really 300 million years old, and there was this ice age, and then there was, so you ask them, if you really sit down and waste your time, because you really, you shouldn't, your time is valuable. You should invest it in things that will benefit you and grow you, you know, not in, if you invest your time in something that you gain nothing out of, you wasted your time. It's like, imagine having money and just throwing it out, or buying something that you don't need. For what? See? But you got to invest your time wisely. Why would you sit down with somebody that's an atheist to have a debate with him? What are you going to gain from that? You're going to walk away with the same way you were now. You're not going to be better than you were before. Even if you crush him in a debate, so what? Anyway, in any case, as it says, science falsely so-called. If you sit down with one of these so-called deep ass, the earth was this many years old, and you ask him, explain to me in detail, how does this work? And be ready to answer every question that I have about this. I guarantee you're going to find a hole in whatever they're saying at some point. Or they're going to hit a point where they're going to say, that we can't really be sure of, or that I don't really know, or the word, if they're honest, the word theory will come up quite a few times in that. Something method, which is used to calculate the approximate. When you hear these terms, they're not speaking in concrete terms. When you hear approximation, about, it could be based on what we have, you know? So they deal with pseudoscience, you know, and a lot of the stuff they deal with is also witchcraft. But carrying on back here, let me actually get through this. I don't want to be stuck on this verse. But 1 Corinthians 15:39, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. So that means that there's a separation between fish and a separation between men. You're not going to have half man, half fish. Fish belong in the water. Man belongs on land. There's a separation. And why is that? Because we're designed differently. You have different types of fish. You got you know, whales and whatever, all different type. Hey, you even have flying fish. I saw a video shows you how man, it shows you how beautiful our power is, man. You have flying fish with wings that fly. They jump out of the water and then they glide, like they fly over the water for a period of time and then they go back into the water. Look it up. Look up flying fish. What? Like, that's so crazy, man. But hey, and it shows you that we really, especially being here in Babylon, there is so little of life that we are exposed to. I mean, we have seen only the basis, the tiniest. First off, we've seen but a grain of the Lord's creation, of the things he can do. And even that grain that we've seen, we're seeing the basis form of it. All the things that we've been exposed to now, this is nothing. Why do you think that why do you think the Lord is going to make us immortal? Why do you think we're going to live forever? Because there's so much. Remember, the Most High is infinite. So there's so much to be explored, to be found out. Even just one subject alone, you can go so deep on that. And just in these bodies, time is one of our biggest enemies. It's one of our most valuable resources, but also one of our biggest enemies, because you don't have enough time. You're always doing something and you don't have enough time. But the point is, we've seen but a fraction of what the Most High can do. Look at the creation. This is just the planet Earth. And even that, we haven't even seen the fullness of the planet Earth. And even the things that we have seen, we don't even understand the fullness of their capabilities. We had something called the Urim and the Thummim, or the Urim and the Thummim. The fullness of how that works, we know what it did, but how exactly, a stone lighting up, like all these different things, we don't even have right now the understanding of how to fully use all of these things. So even the things that we do see, we don't fully have the understanding of. So just imagine what the kingdom is going to be like. That's why it says that eyes have not seen, neither have it entered into the minds of men, neither have ears heard what the Most High has in store for us. It's absolutely impossible to even try to understand it. So we're going to need, that's a spirit. There's a car parked right in front of me, and it's an Infinity. You know, and I was just about to say that we're going to need that eternity. We're going to need eternity to dig in, put it like that. And we're going to still, for a trillion years from now, we still going to be digging in and finding new things out there. So really, if you think about it, this life, everything that we've gone through up until this point is really just the Genesis. Like on a large overall scale, on a bigger version, we're really still in the book of Genesis. I'm not talking about the one you read in the scriptures. I'm talking about the Genesis of the Israelites. Really, we're still in the prologue, because the real story of when we get to the kingdom, all the things that we've gone through from the first Adam up until Yahushua comes back and delivers us is gonna be like the prologue. You know, when you watch before you watch a movie, they show like the old ancient scrolls, and then there's like a narrating voice in the background with like different images and pictures drawn showing what events occurred up until this point. And then it becomes like you see the actual movie scene, you see the beautiful tall buildings and all of that. You know, at one point the Most High, you know, the God of everything created such and such and such, and then they were disobedient, and then they fell, and then they stayed in captivity under all the different nations for generations and generations, and then eventually, you know, the remnant, boom, 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 and then they got delivered, and this begins the chapter of the, you know, so because the kingdom is gonna be eternal. That's going to be the beginning of the true life of an Israelite. How were we truly intended to live? See, and we're not going to be lacking anything, because you either go down the right path or you don't. And we've already gone down the wrong path. So now when we go down the right path, we've already explored the two. And it's better to have gone down the wrong and then go down the right now than to go down the right and then go down the wrong. But right, so carrying on, yeah, brother said a talking bird. Yeah, you got parrots. There's some birds that when you look at them, they look fake. They're real birds, but they look fake. There was this one bird with a huge beak, very, very huge beak. And the bird is real, it's alive, but just looking at it, I was looking at it on video, it looked fake because of just how unrealistically real, if that makes sense, it looked. But the majesty of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, this is why truly are they worthy to be praised. And this is based on what we know about them now. So back in First Corinthians, and I think I might just read this chapter and then and close it out on this, because it has some very good information here. But as it says, verse 40, there are, and also as it says, and another of birds, right? So this goes to prove in Isaiah 40, when it says that they that wait upon me shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Now, what it means is that we're going to be able to fly, because what do eagles do? When you mount up, you can think of like the scene from Hancock when the kid came up to him and told him, yo, you got to get up. There's crime going on. Then he picks up the whatever drink it was from under the chair, and then he just mounts up. But it says what? With wings as eagles. So what do eagles do with their wings? They fly. But we know that we're not going to grow wings out of our back, because once again, there is a different kind of flesh of birds and that of man. What we're going to do is we're going to be able to fly, but our body is not going to grow wings out of our back and then flap them like an actual bird. That's why it says as eagles, which is a simile. You're comparing two things using like or as. So as eagles. Verse 40, it says, there are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. So you have bodies of the heavens and bodies of the earth. And we have terrestrial bodies. That's where you get the term extraterrestrial, where you're able to do things that the normal human or normal terrestrial body cannot do. So it goes on to say, but yet you're still dwelling on the earth. It says, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. Yeah, because though they may be similar in structure, for the most part, like you can have celestial bodies that are in humanoid form. They have heads, hands, legs, and all of that. So though they may be similar looking, they don't function all the way the same. See, in the celestial bodies, right? When you're in the spirit world, for example, you don't have the same desires as you do on the earth. That, like Yahweh Shai said, they don't marry in the spirit world. Okay? You don't have those fleshly desires. Those are things. Those are a part of the glory of the terrestrial body. The things you do here on the earth. The things that you go through. The things that you desire. Those are things that are meant. That's why you can get those things from the earth. Right? When you're hungry and you eat, where do you get your food from? The earth. Because your body craves or needs whatever the earth is providing for it, because it was made to dwell on the earth. So it goes on, it says, verse 41, there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. So guess what? When you have, for example, those that died in Yahweh Shai, as it says, shall rise first, they're going to be risen. They may have died in corruption, and when I say corruption, I don't mean that they died as in they died going off. Corruption meaning they were incorruptible bodies. They weren't perfect. They were still immortal. Okay? But they're going to be raised in incorruption. They're going to be raised and changed. See? And then, as the Apostle Paul goes on to say, we which are alive are also going to be caught up and changed. It says here, verse 44, it is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. See? So when you go, he speaks about that also in 2 Corinthians, the fifth, I want to say the 5th chapter. I think it is the 5th chapter, about the heavenly abode, the house. I think house not made with hands or something like that. But yeah, he speaks on that there as well. Okay, but going to show you that there's a difference. You have a body in the spirit world, and you have a body on the earth. As a matter of fact, when Enoch got translated, same with what's his name, Elijah, when they got taken up, they didn't dwell in the spirit world with their earthly bodies. That's why they were translated. Okay, their body changed forms, because you can't dwell in the spirit world in with an earthly body. And that's why, for example, when the angels, some angels, like when they come on the earth, they can take on the human form. Like what's his name? Raphael Allah, okay, or Raphael. And he came and, acted as though he was one of the brethren, which technically he was, as Azariah, okay. But carrying on, it says, which when it comes to this, we can really only go as far as we're given, right? Now, if you ask me, well, so what are the exact things that you can and cannot do? When you with the spiritual body, right? When you die, tell me from point A to point Z, what exactly happens? What how does your spirit translate, and at what point do you enter this new spiritual body, and how does it feel? And don't ask me that, because I don't know. All right, the same scripture I'm reading is the same thing you reading, and so the certain answers, you can only go as far as what the scriptures provide you. The Apostle Paul said there's a spiritual body and there's a natural body. He said that the glory of the celestial is different than the glory of the terrestrial. Cool, we know that. But so can you describe to me Archangel Michael, right? When he stands, does the earth shake? Like what is that? I don't. How would I? And I'm not saying anybody has asked me this. I'm just giving an example. How would I possibly know the answer to that question? Oh, well, you say you have an unction. You got to know all things. You say you have 100% truth. See, I'm using this example because there are individuals that will come